Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our A Plus Homes event. And I did want to note that we are recording this session, so everyone knows that we're recording it. And I would like to begin by introducing one of the county commissioners, Josh Maxwell, for a few comments. So welcome, Josh.
Thank you, Director O'Leary. It is a pleasure to be with you and this great group of folks. My two colleagues, Marian Moskowitz and Michelle Kickline, send the regards. They've been pulled away to other businesses as we divide and conquer a number of things, including this pandemic. But it's a joy to be with you today. Our county as a government is working together to serve all of our residents, including and especially our senior population. We have a number of departments, including our Aging Services Department, Department of Community Development, and Planning Commission, which are offering unique services and programs that will work to help ensure safe and quality housing for our senior population. In our county, we have a project called Landscapes 3, which is Chester County's comprehensive plan that addresses how we live here in Chester County and in the long term. That plan identified the need for well-rounded communities with opportunities for a diverse housing mix that is attractive, affordable, adaptable, and per today's topic, accessible for all ages. Chester County and all of our local communities will need to work to ensure housing can meet citizens' needs now and into the future. A growing senior population will cause change to what residents need in a home. The new homes required will need different configurations, often smaller and more accessible, or in a more compact senior living arrangement. With that, I turn things over to our director, Brian O'Leary.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I just wanted to welcome everyone again. And I'm really happy you've joined us as we continue to move forward on our A Plus Homes efforts. And as Commissioner Maxwell noted, we're going to be focusing this session on our aging population, which we expect to more or less double over the next 25 years or so. So it's really going to be a significant increase, and we need to plan for this change. We do have a video we want to share to kick things off to kind of describe the A Plus Homes effort and some of the issues on housing that we are facing here in Chester County.
Have you ever been inconvenienced by your home? Whether it's lack of parking or no nearby grocery stores, or your bills are too high, there are ways our homes can inconvenience us each day, especially as our needs change. Chester County's current housing stock is less than ideal for the needs of our growing population and community. Between 2015 and 2045, Chester County is expected to grow in population by 146,000 people. These residents will need about 55,000 new homes, which could consume 66,000 acres of open green space if developed in a sprawling manner. Over the last several years, Chester County has consistently had a high median housing price for both the state and region, according to the U.S. Census. Too often, young adults returning home from college find it hard to afford housing, forcing them to move elsewhere or back in with family or to commute long distances. Business owners have trouble finding and keeping workers for the same reason, which can impact their ability to grow or remain successful. Our senior population is increasing too, creating the need for homes that are smaller and more accessible. When developing Landscapes 3, the county's comprehensive plan, it became clear that the residents' needs for the place they call home were changing in Chester County, and more affordably priced homes were necessary. Through a joint partnership between the Chester County Planning Commission, the Chester County Department of Community Development, and the Chester County Housing Choices Committee, the A Plus Homes initiative was launched in 2019. So now you're wondering, what exactly are A-plus homes? Well, first and foremost, A-plus homes are for everyone, not just one specific group of people. They're homes that have been designed and built to evolve and change with people and their needs over time. A-plus homes are attractive. They've been constructed and maintained to be compatible with the local community. They look like they belong. A-plus homes are affordably priced. Homeowners and tenants should be spending no more than 30% of their household income on housing-related costs. A-plus homes are adaptable. They evolve with market forces, changing demographics, buyer and renter preferences, and environmental conditions. A-plus homes are aging-friendly. They accommodate the needs of aging seniors with wider doors, ADA-compliant switches and handles, and other features. And finally, A-plus homes are accessible. They're located in our existing community centers and connected to jobs, services, amenities, and other community facilities. Through the A-plus Homes initiative, we are asking communities to take action to connect homes to a multimodal transportation network, to connect homes to jobs and community facilities, and to support, through plans, ordinances, and action, the creation of homes that are affordably priced to all community residents, our kids, our parents, our essential service workers, and ourselves. Everyone deserves a place that provides them protection and comfort, a place where they can feel part of the community, and a place that they can call home. To learn more about the A-plus Homes initiative in Chester County, check out our website at chescoplanning.org.
On the questions and answers, we would like to wait till the end to have those. And we would ask that folks would raise their hands if they have a question. If you want to use the chat, really, we'd like to use the chat for comments that folks are making. So at this point, I would like to welcome Libby Horowitz, who is been working on this issue of aging, housing and aging in Chester County, and is going to lead us through with a presentation. So take it away, Libby.
Thanks, Brian. I'd also want to welcome people to put questions into the question and answer as well. If you did want to write those and not raise your hand, please feel free to do that as well as we go, and we're happy to sort of look through those and answer those at the end. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen for everybody. Sorry about that. So I'm going to be giving a little bit of an overview. The county is completing a report currently, so it's on senior housing. And that's going to be coming out in early 2021. And I'm just going to be giving a little bit of an overview of what that's going to be including. So as Commissioner Maxwell did say, while the county assists seniors in multiple ways, the Department of Aging Services, the Department of Community Development, and the Planning Commission are currently working on programs and projects that are related to senior housing specifically. So the Department of Aging Services has numerous programs and services, including a nursing home transition program, nursing facility assessments, options programs, a PDA waiver program, and personal care boarding home supplement. The Department of Community Development administers funds to address affordable housing, homeless assistance, as well as community development. DCD also coordinates for the Decade to Doorways Partnership, the community's 10-year plan to prevent and end homelessness in Chester County, as well as the Housing Partnership of Chester County. I would really encourage people to look more into those programs. I work in the Planning Commission, so I'm a little bit more well-versed about that work. So the Planning Commission works with senior housing largely through planning, unsurprisingly, and that's largely done by Landscapes 3, which is the county's comprehensive plan. And Landscapes 3 really seeks to balance growth and preservation within the county. The plan does contain 6 goals, which are preserve, live, protect, prosper, appreciate, and connect. And housing is addressed specifically within the live goal, although the connect goal is also very important when planning for senior housing. More specifically, the live goal calls for support of safe and accessible places for people of all ages and abilities, from children to seniors, through the development of appropriate housing, community facilities, and amenities. As I mentioned, balancing growth and preservation is very important. And planning for senior housing will need to occur in ways that are compatible with the existing communities. So the plan does identify different areas, 6 different areas, and that's 4 growth areas, which are the urban centers, suburban and rural centers, and then 2 rural resource areas, rural and agricultural. And strategies to plan for senior housing are going to vary within those areas, but will impact all of them as seniors live in all of these communities. As we just saw that wonderful video for, to implement the LIVE goal, the Planning Commission, along with others, have created the A+ Homes Initiative. And aging friendly is a key component of the A+ Homes Initiative. So now I want to go into a little bit more about the why senior housing has been identified as such an important issue for the county. The key takeaway I really want people to have is that there is a changing population, which is going to cause changing housing and changes in how housing is consumed. As we mentioned, the county is increasing in population. The overall population is growing and is projected to add 146,000 people from 2015 to 2045. To accommodate that growth, an approximate 55,000 new housing units are going to be needed. Additionally, the population isn't growing in the same way with the same characteristics as we've previously seen. So nuclear families are really not the norm anymore, and that's those households. So nuclear families meaning parents with 2 kids. So nationally in 1950, nuclear families were 43% of households. In 2015, that number was just down to 20% of households. Instead, there's an increase in 1- and 2-person households. So that's people living alone or with partners, co-housing, which is people living with roommates or siblings, and multi-generational housing, which is either adult children, such as millennials living with their parents due to affordability or now moving back due to COVID, or parents living with their grown children. And a lot of this is really being driven by the senior population. So nationally, by 2034, older adults are actually going to exceed children for the first time in US history. In Chester County, you're seeing the senior population grow even more than in the US. So 55 plus and older residents are expected to grow to 33% of persons in 2045. That's also can be rephrased as 1 in 3 people. So that's up from 21% in 2000. That's even higher than nationally, where in 2030, 1 in 5 persons will be 55 and older. And these demographic changes are really going to change how housing is consumed. So much like we will no longer have nuclear family households as the norm, nuclear family homes will not be the norm either. So homes have traditionally been built to house these nuclear families, and that's going to be single family attached or detached units with large numbers of units within, bedrooms within those households. So in Chester County, 62% of occupied housing units are single family detached, and 40% of occupied Chester County households have 4 or more bedrooms. That's actually double the number in the US, which is 18%. So if nuclear families are no longer being the norm, what will be? So Chester County did do an analysis on where seniors are currently living, and the majority of seniors are living within private housing. So that's not age-restricted private housing. That's 91% are living independently. That could be with grown adult children, that could be by themselves, really any kind of formation. 6% are living independently in age-restricted communities. So that's going to be active 55 plus communities. and then additional 1% each are living in assisted living, nursing home, or continuing care. So really all of those forms are going to be important for housing, and planning for all of them. So more specifically, how is housing going to change because of the senior population? So for private housing, seniors will need accessibility upgrades, additional income, and new housing configurations or live-in assistance to remain in their current residences. An AARP study found that 76% of seniors would like to remain in their current home, but also 33% said changes would be needed for them to do so. Also for senior housing, new types of housing may be needed to enable seniors to remain in their current communities. So different forms such as attached, multifamily, as well as manufactured, different smaller forms. Looking at more of those senior living arrangements, new age-restricted housing, multifamily projects may be needed to meet the growing demand. And I do expect our other speakers to talk a little bit more about this. And then for all housing types, seniors may put additional strain on public infrastructure and safety services. So seniors don't necessarily add children to school districts. However, they are going to need more medical attention, and such as ambulances. Additional multimodal connections may be needed to keep seniors connected and active, as they're no longer able to drive in the way they used to. And also less parking may be needed to meet the demand of seniors. Lastly, one that we might not think of automatically is seniors may generate housing needs for their caregivers. So no matter what type of housing that seniors are going to live in, especially for those more senior living arrangements, nursing homes, often they're going to have caregivers which need to have places to live. These are often lower wage industries, so more affordable housing. So I've discussed the changes that seniors will bring to housing. And next, I want to talk a little bit more about how communities can actively plan to accommodate seniors. So we did identify 5 overarching goals. How these goals are achieved will vary depending on the community and should be compatible with the Landscapes 3 growth and rural asset areas. So the first overarching goal is to help seniors age in place. And aging in place means living in the current residence and growing in the current residence that seniors are in. The second is to develop housing options for seniors to age in community. So aging in community can include aging in place, but it also can mean when seniors want to live and remain within their community, but may have different housing needs. So they might need smaller housing, more accessible housing, or they might want to go into assisted living. So making sure that all of these types of housing are available to seniors. The third goal is to facilitate multi-generational and shared housing. So multi-generational will be different family members living within their own private areas, usually within the same parcel of land, whereas shared housing is going to be more co-living options. Next, keep seniors physically and socially connected. So that's going to be connecting through transportation, but also making sure that spaces are conducive for seniors to exist in and connecting seniors to medical amenities. And lastly, creating a range of price options for housing. So this is going to really address that need for both seniors who are going to have decreasing incomes as well as their caregivers. So in the report that is coming out, as I mentioned, that will be out in early 2021, we are creating a series of tools, and those are going to be much more in depth. And those are going to cover what the tool is, some basic implementation, some resources to read more, as well as some examples. So those will be coming up, and people who want to understand that a little bit more should really dig into that report. However, I did want to give an overview of what those tools could be and some of those that we've identified. So some of the tools that can be used to address senior housing are accessory dwelling units. That's going to be smaller units that operate separately from the main unit on the same parcel. Adaptive reuse, community land trusts, community outreach and education, housing vouchers, land banks, matchmaking. So matchmaking means connecting those who are looking to housing to those who have housing, group living, micro apartments, missing middle housing, manufactured housing, one-to-one affordable housing replacement, retrofits, student housing, which involves co-housing seniors with students, as well as university-based housing, financial incentives, tiny homes, trails, transit-oriented development, on-demand busing, universal design, caregiver housing, and zoning. So we do expect other tools to come up and be explained in there. This is really an overview of where that is currently. And as you see, these goals don't necessarily all address all of those five. Those tools don't address all those five goals. So they really do need to be done in combination. So I wanted to thank everybody again, and I will be available for questions later, but I do want to turn it over now to Mark Gordon and Rick Smith of East Goshen Township.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us. Rick and I here in East Goshen Township, we have a number of senior housing options for our residents, and I have a little presentation to help show that. So I'm going to share the screen here. Okay, so housing and aging in East Goshen, we have a number of different communities here in East Goshen that support aging, our aging population in East Goshen. A little history about East Goshen. In 1950, we had a population of 1,059 residents. You can see that grew considerably in 40 years. 15,000 people in 1990, and in the last census, 2010, 18,026 residents. In 2010, the census showed that we had a median age of 47.3 years old, up from 41.5 in 2000. And similar to our neighboring municipalities, Willistown and West Goshen, also showing increase with Willistown having a median age of 48.2, up from 42.8, and West Goshen much significantly lower, a much higher number of apartment dwellings in West Goshen than we do. So a younger population there at a median age of 38.7. And those trends here in East Goshen with segments from 45 years old to 85 have all increased, every age segment. The 85-year-old segment has grown 211% in East Goshen Township over a 10-year period from 2000 to 2010. It's very significant. Lots of people staying much longer in their homes in East Goshen, and also the fact that we have 2 senior living facilities, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then the 35 to 44-year-old segment was interesting to see that it declined 24% over that 10-year period. Some of that may have been a result of higher property values and costs to gain entry into the housing market in East Goshen. We went through our boom in the 80s and 90s, and those home values have all increased over the years, obviously. And then the number of school-age children has all dropped in East Goshen, especially over the 2000-2010 period, with 5-year-old segment declining 21%. So much less children in the township in that 10-year segment. So Hershey's Mill, Rick's going to talk a little bit about.
So for those of you who have been around for a while, if you recall, the state enacted Municipalities Planning Code in 1968. And one of the components to that was a planned residential development. And what that means in layman's terms, a normal development has everything laid out from the streets to the lots to the parking to the open space, all on the first plan. Planned residential development is essentially do a conceptual plan for development of a parcel. And then the developer comes back in over time and completes the project in phases. So in 1972, a developer came in with a plan to develop Hershey's Mill, 735 acres. The original plan had 2,600 units on it, 45% open space, commercial area, the golf course, all the other good stuff. Well, as luck would have it, that developer went belly up, and the property sat vacant for, basically not vacant, but in a standstill for about 4 or 5 years, until another developer came along in 1978 and picked up the project, tweaked it, and came back to the township for approval. So the 1978 approval, they reduced the number of houses to 2,300 units. It called for, again, 730 acres of property. It called for 30 acres of commercial facilities, golf course, 45% open space. And at that time, they considered basically attached dwellings. So they started building in 78, and it took them until 2010 to complete the last house and close out the project, which in developer time, that's almost 30 years, which is a rather long time for development. But to put it in perspective, the original plans in 78 had 3 plan sheets, and essentially had a circle, village X, so many acres, so many units, and that was the planning for the village, and the rest of it showed where the open space and golf club was. So Hershey's Mill, as it is today, which was completed, now consists of about 1,720 units. It ranges the gamut from single family to multifamily to over and unders. It has private roads, there's a private golf club, private recreation. They have community facilities, a social hall, a lot of groups that get together. They're very active, I guess, politically, but they are, and from perspective, if you're familiar with the Boot Road Shopping Center, the giant on Boot Road, the shopping center, that's part of Hershey's Mill. Now, one of the twists to this is in 2000, and Mark will talk about this later, they came back and asked for an amendment to allow life care facilities as part of one of the commercial uses in Hershey's Mill. The board agreed, and so that allowed for the construction of Wellington, which is a life care facility on Hershey's Mill, and Mark Gordon will talk about that later. I think the most interesting thing about this, that this project over the 30 years that's been developed has been give and take between the developer and the board of supervisors. Nobody got what they wanted all the time, but I think both sides showed flexibility, and the result is we have a very well-planned community, and that is very desirable. Houses don't last in there too long, and they range the gamut from, a couple $100,000, maybe $175,000 for one of the smaller units, to up to $700,000-800,000 for one of the larger ones. And I'll turn it back to Mark.
Start the video. Okay. Thanks, Fred. So, like Rick mentioned, the life care facilities, we have 2. Rick mentioned Wellington, which is on the 735 acres encompassing Hershey's Mill. And the one that came before that was Bellingham Senior Living, which is on East Boot Road and 352. That developer came in and spoke to the board in the mid 80s and said, we want to build apartments for aging population and seniors. And, we're going to have all the amenities. And the board was kind of like, why do you want to do that? And they had a vision and they saw that it was going to be something that was really needed. And he was a forward thinker and went ahead and got the project rolling, got the approvals, and built it in 1987. It had independent living, assisted living, memory care, skilled nursing. They've got, obviously all their own dining. They're right adjacent to the township open space of Applebrook Park. They have access to the trail network to the parks. So that's important. Right across the street, there's a historic preservation area or historic blacksmith shop and environmental areas. So they have amenities right there for that are easy walking for them, and they're very popular with the residents there that are still very mobile. It's quite a facility, and that developer then sold the facility. And when Wellington was being considered, and I guess there was an original plan, it didn't work out. The owners of Bellingham went over and decided to build a new facility at Wellington, and also very, very successful. It's a very big facility, so 300 units plus. It has all the amenities: independent, assisted, skilled care, indoor pool, underground parking. So they really implemented all the best planning for reducing the amount of impervious by putting underground parking, and they're also adjacent to the trail networks in Hershey's Mill, so those folks have access to the shopping center, the Hershey's Mill community. I think they even have some benefits to use the facilities over there. So it was a really good partnership, as Rick said. It worked out well. Both facilities are very popular with residents, and we have there's always been some give and take on these projects when they were developed, but in the end, you're working for a common goal to get to a good product that will have a long lifespan in your community. And they are, lots of people come and visit them. Lots of people come to your township to visit their families, and they go through the entire township to go to these facilities. So you want a good product for these folks to live in. Some other age-related housing considerations that we see here in East Goshen is that seniors want to live at home as long as they possibly can, stay in their single-family home. The challenges there are, increased mobility in the home. A lot of homes have second floor master bedrooms and master bathrooms, and some conversions are needed. We've done a number of those. Affordability, well, most folks have their real estate paid off at that point, but still to pay the bills and taxes and keep the grounds taken care of, cut the grass, all that. So there's those concerns. And then safety, they're on their own in a big house, and you have concerns about that as well. So the seniors we're seeing a lot more of them living with family members, as Libby mentioned, that multi-generational family. So the creation of in-law suites or apartments for the care of a relative was very sought after in the 80s. The board here in East Goshen said, sounds like a great idea. Your family should live there. And if you want to build them an apartment, that's fine, but we don't want them turning into multi-family dwelling units in our single family communities. So there's going to be some general guidelines, and that's spelled out in the ordinance, and it's fairly straightforward. So I think that's important to have, some guidelines along those if that's a concern for your community. Some seniors want to downsize. I've had numbers of calls over the years about people want to be in East Goshen. They want a townhouse with a first floor master, first floor amenities. Unfortunately, East Goshen, we're pretty much built out. The townhome homes we have in in the township are not really on the affordable side. We do have two communities with not townhomes, but carriage homes. So they're fairly expensive, but they have all those amenities, everything on the first floor. There are townhouses and apartments available, obviously, in the township along Westchester Pike. We have a very high number of multifamily dwelling units in East Goshen Township. So if they're going to downsize, you know, it's a tougher challenge for them to find something in East Goshen. So if they want newer and smaller, you know, there are those communities that are building those types of units. But again, the concerns there are new construction is not cheap, so affordability. They want efficient homes so that they're not spending tons of money on keeping them warm and cool in the summer. That one floor living, like I mentioned, and then access to recreation, amenities, shopping, transportation, all those things that we talk about and think about during planning. You have to think about if you're doing a senior community of some type. We've also seen that, like I mentioned, apartment communities are very popular with seniors. We have some residents at New Kent Apartments here in East Goshen that have been there for over 30 years. They have some very long-term tenants, and they're very happy where they are. They have lots of connectivity to all the surrounding amenities, the park, the shopping. We have a new trail that's going to connect to them. So those are also being very popular. Again, challenges are a lot of them don't have first floor availability, and the lack of elevators in some of the older units can make those challenge sometimes. And there it is on my slide. And then Libby also mentioned earlier that, you know, senior communities do pose a strain on our ambulance services. And as you know, in the county, our ambulance corps are top notch, and they are always busy. And, you know, it's tough, and they're very expensive to operate. So we have to think about, you know, how we're going to assist those services and prop up those services to assist our aging population. So that's my slides. Libby or Suzanne, whoever's taking over. So unless Rick, do you have any more to add on those points there?
No, I think when I ask questions, then we can go to there. So.
Thanks, Rick and Mark. If you can mute yourselves and stop your video. Next, we are going to have Rick Bailey from Penrose, who's going to talk a little bit about senior housing from a development side.
All right, I'm just opening up the screen share now. Okay, can everyone see the screen now? Bricks and mortar, heart and soul.
Yes.
Great,
Yeah.
excellent. My name is Ryan Bailey. I'm a senior developer with Penrose Properties. We're a multifamily developer out of Philadelphia. I grew up in Westchester and went to Henderson, so I'm a local guy and happy to doing work around here. I'm just going to go through a quick intro on Penrose, and then I'll jump into 3 different examples, and we'll get you on your way. I know that I'm at the tail end of this thing, so appreciate your time. Penrose is active in 13 states. We're based out of Philadelphia. We've got 5 or 6 offices around the country. I'm working in Philadelphia, Delaware, and southeastern Pennsylvania. We've been around for 35 years, and we've developed lots of units. So over 17,000 units, 3 billion developed. We've got our own management company and development company, and there's over 400 employees. Most of those are out at the sites that we manage. There's a little geographic deployment. We have rapidly expanded in the last couple of years, but since we're based in Philadelphia, most of our work is in southeastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Maryland. So first project, Mary Taylor House in Westchester. Some of you may be familiar with this project. It's an absolutely beautiful, this is all affordable senior housing, 62 and above. This was a partnership with the Hickman, which if you look to the right of the screen, the Hickman would be, so this is right downtown. I believe it's right off of Church Street. And this was a county building that needed to be knocked down, had gone through its useful life. So we knocked that down, built 60 units of senior housing here. Senior housing in Chester County for 2 people, that means you're 43K or less per year. 1 person is 37,000 or less per year. And that equates to a maximum of a $1,014 rent on a 1-bedroom and $1,216 on a 2. As I mentioned, this was done in collaboration with the Hickman. So if you see on the right-hand side here, there is actually a bridge that we worked closely with the Borough of Westchester to get approval for a bridge that actually connects over to the Hickman. So there are supportive services that flow back and forth with this bridge. This is not considered assisted living. It's independent living. Everyone has their own apartments, but there are, an elevated level of supportive services that are available. This building is LEED Gold. It actually has a green roof on top, so extremely energy efficient, architecturally beautiful. I think it really, the mansard roofs, if you look right across the street, there are, townhouses with mansard roofs, and it was basically designed to look exactly like that. Local architecture firm WRT out of Philadelphia. So that is one near and dear development for us. I think that what you'll see throughout these slides are partnerships. I think in all housing, and especially in affordable, it's good to have developers that are building the bricks and sticks of the thing, but also the supportive services that are providing those wraparound services. And if you get a group like the Hickman or some of these other nonprofits that you'll see in these developments, it really creates a wholesome place to live, and not just a building with windows and bricks and doors and things. So speaking of beautiful buildings, this is one in Cleveland that I got to work on. Penrose really got their start working on historic renovation projects. This is one of my favorite projects of all time. And this was a St. Luke's hospital that had been vacated and sat just being ransacked for copper for 12 years. A local nonprofit took it over, did a national level search for affordable housing developers with historic tax credit experience, and we were lucky enough to be selected. There's a state historic tax credit in Ohio, just like there is in Pennsylvania now, so we were able to utilize that. And funding came in from the city, from the state, low-income housing tax credit, historic tax credit, and we actually, it was such a demand for this building to be renovated that we actually went out to a bunch of philanthropies in the Cleveland area, and they helped fund it as well. This is the front of the building, and it's a big U shape. So on the far side here, there's a wing that goes all the way back. And then on the right-hand side, there's another wing that goes all the way back. The front wing and the side wing over here are the senior housing. And then the other wing actually has an intergenerational school in it. It is a K-8 school, and it's nationally recognized. And their whole idea is to have mentors come in and help with the kids. So not only do you have teachers, but you've got folks that are, actually coming in. They're retirees, they're former professionals, and they get to help the kids out with the things that they really know about. So we actually have a lot of, it's an intergenerational kind of campus here, and we have a lot of people that are living in the senior building that go over and help out the school kids and help them on their way. So not only a beautiful building and a fun historic renovation, but definitely another partnership. This is a building that I am actually just starting construction on in 2 weeks. This is down in Delaware County, right in Woodland, which is in Ridley Township, right off the McDade Boulevard exit of the Blue Route there. So this is in partnership with the Delaware County Housing Authority and Mercy Health. On the first 2 floors of this building will be 19,000 square foot PACE Center. It's a senior daycare and senior medical facility. And then the top 4 floors are senior affordable housing. Very complicated financial structure, very complicated condo structure. But what you're going to get is, that folks can literally take the elevator down to the first floor, walk through the lobby, and walk into an absolutely beautiful facility that you can either see a doctor there, or you can just hang out for the day. And there's all types of programming and services that are provided through there. And it's all income based. So all the folks that live in this building will have direct access and can utilize those programs. This is a little bit more about Mercy Life. They have a number of facilities around southeastern Pennsylvania, and they really want to promote independence at home. So again, this is not assisted living, but this has a lot of medical facilities on site, many of those attributes. But the whole idea is that folks will be able to live in place, but have direct access to this. So another really cool thing we're doing is that we have a dining facility that will provide 3 meals a day. And of course it creates 70 new jobs for the area, which is critical. So here's the, to orient you, the 476 is off to the right here. McDade Boulevard is down below. This is the lower level of the building. So the Mercy Life space is right here. Then we have a dining facility right off the side, and then it actually connects to 3 other senior housing buildings that are right here that the Housing Authority already owns and operates and manages. All those folks that are there will be in the existing buildings, will be able to come over, utilize the dining facility, come over, utilize the commercial space on this floor as well. So in this example, Mercy is really just a medical tenant. We're basically building medical office space and bringing them in as a tenant. And because there's so many folks that can just walk directly to this, this is a slam dunk deal for them. There are actually 25 residents that are living in these existing facilities that travel, 15, 20 minutes to their other location in Sharon Hill. So those folks, instead of waiting for shuttles or having to get over there, will be able to just walk under this covered connecting link. This is the lower level space. There's another commercial space on the side and even more Mercy Life space on this side. This will be their administrative offices. Here's a rendering of the building, connecting link off the side here to the existing senior buildings. And then there's a covered porte cochere that, cars and buses and things can come right up and drop off. So short and sweet, but some examples of some partnerships that we've put together, both locally and across the country. And I will hang on to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ryan. If I can have Rick and Mark re-sign on, we do have some questions. I'm actually going to start with an audience question from Steve Krug, who wanted to know, does East Goshen Township allow accessory dwelling units in any zone?
So currently, we do not allow accessory dwelling units. So apartments for a care of a relative have to be attached. They can be a separate apartment, but they have to be attached to the home.
But it can have its own, the difference is a dwelling unit has its own kitchen, sleeping area, and bathroom. So you could convert your garage into an apartment for your in-law. She could have her own front door. So to that end, it actually becomes a dwelling unit. So they don't have, however, there is a requirement that you have a covenant recorded against the deed, so that, or recorded against the property, so that if that person dies or the thing goes away, it can't become a second unit dwelling unit. Hope that answers the question.
And you did say you had ordinances. Were those the ordinances you could share with everybody as well?
Yes, we sent to the county, yes.
Okay. And then I had two questions for Ryan, actually. And then I'll sort of open up with some general questions. So Ryan, I know we've talked a little bit, I think the East Goshen and myself mentioned a little bit more about the private housing and the smaller units. And I was hoping you could talk a little bit about the market for the larger projects, and how you're seeing that? Is that still strong?
Sorry, so market for larger projects?
Yeah, some of the larger and the more senior living arrangements.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a very, very high demand in all of our developments. There's a waiting list. The one in Westchester has a very long waiting list. It's actually kind of difficult to get in there. So yeah, we're building a lot of senior housing all over the place. I will say that most of it is affordable. And the market studies obviously like knock it out of the park. And day one, there's a line of people that are ready to move right in.
Thanks. I would encourage everyone, if anybody has any questions, to put those in the question and answer. Raise your hand now. I did have a few other questions that we can talk about. First, I want to know, what do you all see as some of the major challenges right now for senior housing?
The availability, it sounds like. So, and one of our biggest challenges is we don't have any more ground. So we're pretty much a built out community. So finding areas in the built areas where they have access to services and healthcare and all that, that's a challenge. And it sounds like, conversion of existing buildings is an opportunity like Penrose has done in the past. And I think that's probably where the industry is going to go. They're going to be looking at buildings that can be converted. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We're primarily redevelopers. We don't go out in too many fields and build things. We're looking in denser urban cores, places that have access to transportation and the other amenities that Mark was just talking about. So we look to either knock down and redevelop existing areas, or the historic renovation or the adaptive reuse is really very interesting. That can get quite expensive. Almost more expensive than building new in many scenarios. But if you're in a situation where there isn't land to build, then that might be the only option.
Mark mentioned earlier that in 2001, we had a development come through called Applebrook. And it was once, all homes were on one floor, obviously had a basement. And then a couple years, maybe 2015, 2016, Pulte came through and did another job on the same property called the Reserve at Applebrook. They both overlooked the park. What we found out is they're one-story homes. They're a little bit smaller than the 4-bedroom, 3-bath traditional single-family detached dwelling that these people, most people came from. They were carriage homes, which is a fancy name for twins. However, they are affordable if you have a lot of money. They're not for the, I guess, the average retired person. They're for the well-to-do retired person. But they have been very successful in selling and reselling those homes. But again, one of the problems associated with any type of housing construction is the cost of development. You know, the county puts rules on, DEP puts rules on, stormwater, all this stuff adds up, and it all gets passed on to the guy who's trying to buy the house. So that's a bigger problem. It's not just isolated to senior housing.
I will put in a little bit of a plug there. We do have a second Housing for A+ Homes forum on Thursday that's going to be covering a little bit more of that overall cost of housing and how can that be addressed. I did get 2 questions that came in as well. This is mostly for Ryan, but also for everyone. Has anybody seen any mixed-use housing that combines senior housing with housing for other age groups?
That is an interesting question. So we have done several large-scale redevelopments where there will be, you know, a number of townhouses that are around that are either for market rate or affordable, and then a few senior buildings. In the low-income housing tax credit world, you actually cannot have both in the same building. I would love to, but that is just it's an IRS regulation, and you can't do it. So we tried to mix it up within a larger, you know, multi-unit planned development like that was mentioned before. We do find that there are a number of seniors who, you know, want to live like very independently, whether they are in the cottage style or in a townhouse type setting. But there's many who want to be in an elevated building and have those accessible features and have the community feel and the community rooms, and you have everything right there. I think back to the previous question, in order to do that, you need density, you know, so I know that can be a bad word in development. I think it's a good word, but you know, each of those developments that I showed there were fairly dense, 1 and 2 bedroom units, with a lot of amenity space. You know, we can take an acre and build a 50-unit senior building on it, you know, with a parking lot and lots of amenities. So while those cottages that Rick was just speaking about are great, and you know, maybe I'll live in one day, you know, you can only put probably 4 units on an acre, you know, in doing that kind of development. So I think having a mix, having a diverse use of densities is probably the right answer.
Yeah, I would agree that density is looked at as a bad word in our world of municipal government. Folks don't realize that less dense means you have to disturb more ground, you have to take away more farm fields, and you know, that method has been done and it's not being done anymore. So trying to get folks to shift to that new mindset is difficult as well.
Great, we do have 2 more questions that came in. First, this is going to be more for Mark and Rick. Do senior housing developments have a negative or positive net impact on tax structures regarding school district or municipal taxes?
One big advantage of Hershey's Mill is that, again, at least one of the partners or residents has to be over 55. But there's also a prohibition against kids under 18 for more than 3 months of the year. So therefore, there is revenue towards the school district, but there are no kids in the school. And so from that perspective, it is a definite plus to the school district.
As far as the municipality goes, those folks all have, in Hershey's Mill, for example, all private streets, private parks. They're all taken care of by Hershey's Mill community. So none of those amenities are maintained by East Goshen. They have their own sewer treatment facilities, their own stormwater facilities, and all maintained by Hershey's Mill and not the municipality. So again, another win for the local municipality.
Great. And then another specific one that we have, do most of the senior developments or mixed use developments also include public transportation or private transportation, any forms of that?
For East Goshen, unfortunately, the only public transportation we have is the bus that goes up and down Route 3, and that is not accessible to either Wellington, Bellingham, or Hershey's Mill. So yeah, we just don't, they don't have that accessibility to that.
I'm pretty sure that the Rover system here in Chester County does go into Hershey's Mill and does go to the Bellingham and Wellington for those folks. And both of those communities, Wellington and Bellingham, both have their own shuttle service that they provide for their residents, which is a help to them. But again, it's not public. It's provided by the community. But I'm pretty sure Rover does go into Hershey's Mill if you need it.
Great, we have another comment question, which I think I will probably talk about a little more, but then throw out to everybody. So the question is, there are a number of benefits of accessory dwelling units to communities that have limited space. Please describe the process to allow accessory dwelling units in the township zoning. So I do want to say that the county does have a tool available for this. So it is on accessory dwelling units, and I'm hoping that somebody can throw that up, the link to that e-tool for everybody. And that's going to include some sample ordinances as well, and some things that communities can do to have accessory dwelling units in the township zoning. Does anybody else have anything they would like to add to that? Great.
Mark? Well, for East Goshen's point of view, essentially it's a permit. You submit a form to Mark. Again, it's a covenant that goes recorded against your property, but essentially it agrees that you're going to build this. It's going to be for the stated purpose, and at the end of the day, it goes away. So it's not like there's a hearing. Most people submit it with their plans to convert their garage to a dwelling unit for the parent or whoever's going to live in it. So we try to make it as easy as possible.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to end with one question, unless there's any others, which is just, what are the first things that municipalities could do? What are some of the first steps that municipalities could do working with developers to help towards implementing and addressing the need of senior housing?
Well, I've been doing this for a long time, and I think the biggest thing the municipality can do is when a developer comes with an idea is to think about it, give it serious consideration, and do not dismiss it out of hand just because it's currently not allowed. The township amended its zoning in 1972 to allow for Hershey's Mill. In 1978, when the guy came in to do Bellingham, and the question was, you want to do what, where, with these apartments? The same year, Joe Sigel came in with QVC to East Goshen Township. And we asked the same question, you want to do what, where? And QVC has turned out very well. And again, back again, when in 2001, when the Bellingham guy moved over to Wellington, they came in and the board looked at it with They didn't just dismiss it out of hand because it was a change. So I think that's the biggest thing municipalities can do for some of this type of stuff is to listen, ask the right questions, and then move forward. Just because you don't do it today doesn't mean it's something you shouldn't do in the future.
I think if I could just jump in on this for a second. I've had a number of examples where it's kind of like the opposite direction, where a municipality will invite us in because they either want affordable housing or some other type of housing. They've seen one of our other projects and they say, hey, how can we get that? And particularly when it comes to affordable, obviously the cost of the land is very critical. So each of those developments I showed you were all partnerships with nonprofits that controlled the site ahead of time. So that is part of that conversation is, okay, well, here's a portfolio of the type of projects we've done. We hope you think they would add value to your community, and who can you introduce me to in your community that may have land, whether it's a housing authority, whether it's a church, whether it's a nonprofit development company, whether it's the municipality itself. So there's a lot of those partnerships. There would be an old warehouse somewhere that nobody knows what to do with, or it's gone past its useful life. Well, we can bring that in, bring in some extra funds to the municipality, build something up that's going to have some tax revenue that is going to be an asset to the community. So I've seen it go both ways.
Great, thank you. So I do want to thank our three speakers today. I really appreciate you all taking the time to do this today. I also want to thank all of the attendees as well. And once again, we do have the second part of this two-part A+ Homes this Thursday at 3 p.m. On cost of housing, and I would encourage everyone to attend that. So Brian, did you have anything else that you wanted to add? Otherwise, thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you all on Thursday.
I'll just reiterate, thanks to Mark and Rick and Ryan and you, Libby, for some great presentations, and encourage everyone to join us on Thursday. So thank you very much all. It's very informative and some great information was shared today.